You're listening to The Watchers, a show where two women from opposite ends of New Jersey watch TV about New Jersey. I'm Jodie.
And I'm Andrea.
And this week, the women were vocalizing hauntingly.
I noticed that. It was a haunting vocalization this week.
It was haunting, not eerie.
No.
Haunting.
Which is fitting.
Yes.
For this episode.
Yes.
Which, can I say...
Packed.
So,
fully packed episode.
Some of my, many of my favorite things about this series are in this episode. And I also feel like it's such a good cross-section of what the show can be. Like, if you only had one episode, well, probably you would start with the pilot. But if you could only show somebody, one episode of this show, this one is, this is what the show is when it's at its best, I think. Even, as we get into season 2, I think that's still true.
I think even more so than the pilot. I mean, there is the initial scene, but I do think that incorporating sort of the pettiness and the teen girl stuff, plus all of the political stuff in the this just has everything. It has teens dancing. It has Misty poisoning someone.
It has
Nat and Travis.
Myths about women's menstrual cycles.
Yep. It has Biscuit.
It does have Biscuit.
Yeah.
Fearing for his and his family's life, rightly so. Yeah.
I did a little bit of deep diving into tvtropes.org, which is a real fun resource for all of these different tropes. And on that website, this is referred to as the evil detecting dog.
He's right. He's so right.
Yeah.
We know that now.
A character's dog reacting... Actually, this is super interesting. A character's dog reacting oddly to their presence is often the first sign that a character's been replaced by an evil twin.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And we know Ty is her own evil twin.
Yes. Yeah, this one had a lot going on in it.
I think we'll start 96, we'll get to Ty, but a very clear, maybe our first really extremely clear, definite other Ty showing up in this one. Yeah,
she really flips in that press conference.
Just the way we'll get there. I love this episode.
It's such a good one.
Yeah, what a heartwarming opening.
I found it so cringy, honestly. There's something about the teenage girlhood of it.
But that's what's heartwarming about it. Exactly.
I know.
But I had very cringy.
But as a teen who loved to dance, as we've established...
I was going to say, look inward, Jodie.
Well, but, okay, this is so stupid and nitpicky, but, I was a teen who loved dance, and I would never have called out various moves as I was doing them. That seems fully weird.
Well, I think they're working on the routine together, so they're...
I know, but...
And also, they're not dancers, they're soccer players.
Fair.
Who are dancing.
Yeah, they're not very good at the dancing.
I think that is authentic, real behavior for teens who aren't actually dancers.
Just embarrassing to watch.
It's very sweet. It's very cringy. You're so correct. But I just think of all of those, TikTok loves to do them now. The background will be an old computer room, and then it'll be two adults, but in their shirts they're limited 2 shirts, and they're us making the family watch us do a routine. You know what I mean? Right. And it's always
the Running Man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent here. And we've got poor Ben is kind of charmed by the silliness. I'm sure it's,
It really, knowing what's coming, feels like these last vestiges as we see them of sweetness and normalcy and an attempt to hold on to what was before.
Right. And the batteries dying are such a sign of that, right?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, Little Montel Jordan.
Perfect song. That song,
such a good song.
Still.
It's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
And we see Misty kind of off to the side, taking part, but also still a little bit not in the middle of the group.
Yeah, exactly. But even Laura Lee, she's into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
do you think she thinks this is what causes the evil later? It's her engaging in this dancing.
The sinfulness of dancing.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think she's still worried about calling her music teacher a cunt.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I want to say this.
You're going to say exactly what I was going to say.
The blowing on the Walkman and hitting it is so funny to me.
Yeah.
I literally, okay, so speaking of that TV Tropes website that I was looking at, they referred to this as percussive maintenance because they're hitting it.
Oh my God, I love that.
It says also known as the technical tap. This is a method of repairing malfunctioning devices by hitting them really hard. This is a case of truth in television, as many people will often do this with malfunctioning machinery, frequently with surprisingly mixed results. It's just like percussive maintenance is just a great word.
I believe its technical term is the FONS, I think is what it's actually called.
Smacking the jukebox? Yeah.
I've learned, I don't believe this, but apparently blowing into, for example, a Nintendo cartridge is way more likely to do more harm than good because you're introducing moisture, like friction. Yeah. But it has worked many times for me, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think that's where because you wouldn't have necessarily, and this is, no one cares, this is a nitpick, but you wouldn't have necessarily blown into a Walkman.
Yeah,
you might have hit it or shaken it, but you wouldn't have you would have taken the batteries out and roll them around. But the blowing into the thing was for video games.
Yeah, these people.
It's for Nintendo. But anyway.
But
they're desperate.
Give it a shot.
Yeah, they're losing their music and their humanity.
Exactly. And Ben is such a dad here. I think the ghost decided it was time to get some sleep. I think that's Ben, right? Or is it?
It's Ben.
Yeah.
It's
a very dad thing.
Yeah, and they hear that creaking upstairs. And this is
we get another one of those watching shots too in this scene from the outside.
Yeah. But I also noticed that when they hear the creaking, Mari says maybe it's the dead guy. Nat mentions that he had missing fingers. Yeah. She said maybe it's his missing fingers.
They seem to know a lot about him that they have somehow learned off screen. Shauna calls him Jacques.
Yeah,
later.
Which I noticed this time and was like, wait, do we know that's his actual name?
Right.
I guess so.
And she says it as if it is definitely his name, not just we think we're in the French-Canadian wilderness, so he's probably like Jacques or something.
Right.
So it seems like there's some stuff that has happened off camera. In my head, we don't ever find any of his writings on screen, right?
Right.
In my head, they found a journal or something.
Yeah. They rifled through his possessions and found something with his name on it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that
makes sense.
Kind of speculation on. It's also possible they were just like, Jacques. That's a good name for the dead man.
Yeah. But exactly. So we just Misty.
Absolute sex pest.
Just disgusting.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's really this rewatch has made me more suspicious of Adam, but also of Misty. And I don't know suspicious of what, because she freely does all of these things.
Yeah.
She's not hiding it, but it's actually made me be like, maybe she's more involved in stuff in 2021 than we know, because she's fucking she's just irrepressible in the worst way.
Well, it's funny because watching through this episode, especially toward the end, they're obviously wanting you to think that, and we've learned that Misty, taking aside what you just said, going into this, I'm like, oh yeah, they really wanted you to think Misty might have more going on. And the delight of it is that no, Misty's just crazy on her own terms, and this is how she acts and does around the people that she cares about in her own way, right? But also, who knows? There's nothing. I've said this before.
I'm back in it. I will put nothing past her.
That's what I was just gonna say. There's nothing I wouldn't put. I wouldn't put past Misty. I think sometimes I talk about Misty she's just a very damaged person who's protecting herself, and in the best way she knows how, because that's what everybody's doing, and maybe we should have. But also, then there's an episode like this where you're like, no, she's just a demon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she tripped him last episode. This episode, he rejects her and she poisons him.
Jesus.
She just has no conscience about any of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. He tells her not to touch him and gets really mad, which of course later leads to the poisoning. Nat wakes up Jackie.
Right, Jackie's
everyone has cramps.
In.
Yes, this is Jackie being unhelpful as she has been.
I go back and forth because I'm like, yeah, everybody needs to help, but she's also kind of like, I get being like, why even bother? Like, what's the point? I do get it.
We talked about this a little bit last time where, like, I don't know that I would have, maybe I would be super helpful, but I also could easily see myself just falling into depression and being like, we're all going to die, guys. Why are we doing this?
Exactly.
Like, this is a waste of time.
But they're seeing it as her being like lazy and like kind of like princessy, right? Like a little too good.
Yeah.
For all of this. Is this where we talk about the fact that people who have periods, they don't sync up? They don't.
Yeah. Yep. I know.
Do you know the McClintock effect? Do you know what?
So I read about it just recently. Like, I was looking at, this is why I was late this morning to our recording. Because
You're reading about
I was looking at this. Yeah.
McClintock is such a good 90s action. It's like last day on the job kind of guy would be Detective McClintock, but it's just a woman who is a psychologist who in like the 70s, she like noticed when she was in college that it seemed to her that women who were good friends, their periods would sync up. And then she did a study that
they don't.
Well, and the way she did the study is she had these 135 or 25 women check in with her a few times. It was like a few times throughout the year, like every 3 months, and to let her know like when their periods started. And by October, they were 2 days closer together, which is just like, that doesn't tell you, that doesn't actually tell you anything. First of all, there's like so much variation month, like there can be, I should say, not everybody's, but like, and there are only so many days in the month, like overlap is going to happen. And it's also like anything you read about it is like, well, and there's also confirmation bias, right? You're so much more likely to remember the times they did sync up than when they didn't. And just also like mathematically, it's going to happen sometimes. Yeah. But people believe this so much to this day now.
I know. I came across the whole McClintock effect thing actually through the Vulture recap of this episode where it's mentioned, which Vulture's great. But they say the Yellowjacket survivors have reached the point where their periods have synced up, which seems to happen often amongst groups of friends, coworkers, or women who live together, but isn't actually a science thing. It's more like a, quote, women are made of magic thing. Studies have been performed for years, blah, 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 on the McClintock effect, which proposes that, quote, an alpha uterus has a strong hormonal pull that causes other cycles around it to menstruate in unison.
Who's the alpha uterus in this group?
That's my new band name, Alpha Uterus.
We know it's not Shauna.
It's so perfect. That phrase is going to make me happy forever.
It's very good. Alpha Uterus is so funny. It's not Shauna.
It's so good. It's not Shauna. Who would it be? It's not Jackie.
Or is it Jackie? Is it Jackie? Because she's the one, she says, like, if you were with a group of women and suddenly your period synced up with everybody else, and you suddenly had cramps and had your period at a time of the month when it's not typical for you to, and you woke up with cramps, you might be like, I don't know that you'd be like, oh, I have cramps. You'd be like, oh, it's weird. You know what I mean? But she's like, this seems like when I should be having these symptoms. Right. So maybe and maybe the fact that they're treating her so poorly is what calls in, because she's the alpha uterus, this dark energy.
Oh my God.
Also, the problem with the McClintock effect is that, like, if all of these women crash in the wilderness, if we weren't believing in the McClintock effect and suddenly all of their periods synced up, you'd be like,
that's
what
fucking witchy.
Dark magic is happening here. We're so powerful. Who's the alpha uterus?
Also, it's only been a few weeks, I think.
I think this is their...
That's real fast.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be months and months for even if it was a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Just the idea that, like, suddenly... all of these girls are already spending... If the McClintock effect were true, every person with a period in high school would have it at the same time, because you spend all of your time with the same people.
College dorms.
College dorms, especially the soccer team. They're together morning till night. And then they're partying in the woods together. This should have been like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
Once again, time for a collective period.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like that later Travis refers to it as menses.
He's so
or maybe it's Nat that refers to it as menses.
She says you're afraid of our menses.
Yeah.
He refers to it as lady blood.
Yeah, which is also pretty good, actually. I also just noted to myself here that I think Jackie's a Libra, and I know we've had this conversation before, but she just reads Libra to me. And that's not necessarily, I am also a Libra, it's not necessarily a compliment. But I think she's more of a Virgo cusp and more of a Scorpio cusp. Yeah. Yeah.
I could see that.
She's giving Libra vibes.
Well, I think Scorpio cusp is a little on the nose for the way we think about the way people think about Jackie. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we've got a more nuanced view of her, but I can see other people.
I think she's more of a Virgo cusp.
Yeah. I would buy that.
Yeah. I don't know why this came to me right here, but I think it was her sort of like, she's still doing her hair. She's still buttoning up her
rolling
her cute
up her
little button down and like wearing like a little sweater. Mm-hmm. Like she's still trying, whereas everyone else is like chopping wood with axes and sweating. And
it's funny because you can look at that one way as her being too good to whatever. We just talked about this.
Yeah.
But it is also like, I'm refusing to submit. I'm the alpha uterus here, and I'm refusing to submit to.
We need t-shirts. Alpha uterus.
Forget the antler queen. I want to know who the alpha uterus is.
Amazing. But she does go to get water and sees Lottie standing in the lake creepily like she does. She's always standing creepily with her back to people.
Yes.
She's like staring into the distance.
It's like her whole with the like Lottie motif.
Yeah, that's like what she does. It's also somebody on Reddit noted like right about where like when the plane explodes. Mm-hmm. It's a very similar shot.
Oh yeah.
Of like her standing right there.
Mm-hmm. And this is the episode where Laura Lee starts to get the idea.
Yeah. She said something about how like her grandpa could do it. There's a TikTok sound going around right now that's like, how hard can it be? Boys do it. And it just reminded me of Laura Lee. She's like, how hard can it be? My dumb grandpa did it.
She's like, I can't wait till we get to the plane. It's just the best.
I so knew that that's what Chris was talking about.
Oh yeah, immediately.
Yeah. It's just such a moment.
It's perfect.
And it made me laugh so hard, and it really shouldn't have.
Oh, me too. And everybody I've talked to who likes this show the right way, that part made them laugh.
Yeah.
It's so, we'll get there, but it's so over the top.
Yeah. We find out here that Shauna is late on her period, and we get that haunting line, you're lucky you're a virgin or we'd have to worry.
Jackie has been too self-absorbed all this time to have any sort of inkling, right? That Shauna and Jeff.
So. Yeah. I think so. I'm like tempted to read into it because she's like bringing that up, but I think that she's still oblivious at this point. It's just
her being an asshole to her best friend the way that she likes to be.
Yeah. But then Shauna realizes she needs to quash that pretty quick. So she goes and dips a pad in deer blood, which is like, there's a lot of like deer blood, writing with blood, drawing with blood, marking your head with blood.
They're all very comfortable with animal blood already.
Yeah. But Ty sees her.
Right.
And that's where we start to get, the bond that we see develop between Ty and Shauna. I feel like we see it start here.
Totally.
They have secrets.
And then Shauna very smoothly, thanks for jinxing me.
Yeah. Notice me as I do this in front of you.
Exactly.
Take your headphones out, Jackie. Look at what I'm doing.
I love Shauna's pep talk.
Oh my God.
She says the time they're supposed to go to Whip Splash River is the name of the water park.
Yeah.
Is that Action Park?
It's got to be. It's got to be because Action Park is like, it has to be, right?
Because it's like Class Action Park is the joke, right? And then
Whip Splash,
Whiplash is their play, right?
Yeah.
Like
that. I hadn't thought about that, but that has to be an Action Park reference.
I think so.
Yeah, for our listeners, if you haven't watched the Class Action Park documentary and you're not from Jersey and you want to know what it was like growing up in North Jersey, especially, just watch that and you'll understand us better. Because that was our fun place.
It would have been peak for them. These girls, whether they're Monmouth County or Bergen County, I think they're the two going sort of.
They're Monmouth.
I think they're definitely Monmouth, and even taking out that's where Bart and Ashley are from. Like that's the big enough reason. But even if you take that out, I think these are Monmouth County girls. But I've seen
because Action Park is in Vernon Township.
It's close enough, right?
Yeah. No. So this is 96, right? Mm-hmm. Apparently, in early 1995, Action Park was operated with no liability insurance. New Jersey did not require it, and the parent company found it more economical to go to court than purchase liability insurance, since they relied on their own self-insurance. So there's got to be Action Park they're talking about.
Like 100%, I think.
The necklace changes hands again.
I know I've gone back and forth. How did I watch this scene the first time through and think sometimes women's friendships are just complicated?
Because they are, but Shauna's clearly in love with Jackie.
You taught me how to be like this, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Being your dumb, hot, awesome self.
Yeah, come on.
So, as you said, Jackie puts the necklace on. So now we know she's Pit Girl, obviously.
When I went back to looking at the Reddit threads from when these episodes first aired is so funny because everybody was so obsessed with the things we remember being obsessed with. Where the necklace is, who's got the necklace, like who's Pit Girl, who's Antler Queen. Oh, the antlers are behind this person in this scene. Oh, there's the antlers behind Misty. Oh my God, the antlers are behind Ben. What does that mean? And it's like, oh my God, we needed to relax a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. This is the great Menzies scene.
Yeah, it's not my fault your lady blood is scaring all the prey away.
Yeah. Although I think it's really funny that, so this episode is very witchy. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very seance-y, as they said. It's very light as a feather, stiff as a board. It's very The Craft. It's very, like, all of that stuff.
Totally. And
to me, that is a little, I'm not trying not to get too heady with it, but it is a little bit tied up in the whole the fact that women bleed every month, like tying into,
well, it's because it's related to the moon. And
it's like, and it's this idea of like the actual women as witches, like persecution factor. There's just something for me that's like swirling around this that is connecting like light witchcraft, like 90s teen witchcraft with like serious, like dangerous women and the way that dangerous women are persecuted. I don't know. There's like a thesis forming in my head that I will support with JSTOR articles later, but there's something going on there.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I don't think it's an accident that the period episode is also the seance episode. Like, I think you're totally right.
Yeah. We see Nat and Travis are kind of flirting. They've turned it into a competition. They seem to be successfully hunting.
Yeah.
You know, they're still feeding everybody.
They're keeping track of who's caught
their
what.
Kills.
And so
yeah.
They're doing well enough to feel like that it's fun to make a game of it. So
yeah. And it's fun because we see Nat and Travis being all flirty, and then we immediately see Van and Ty hiding behind a tree and like making out, which is adorable.
I've always gotten the impression that this was happening before that their relationship was secret before the crash, right?
I think so. If not, it was percolating.
If not, they had like Sean and Jackie levels of friendship before the crash. Yeah. Because again, we know the first person Ty goes looking for after the crash is Van. Yeah.
There was already something there for sure. It's just a matter of whether like being out in the woods away from everything allowed them to just be more like open and, you know, make out behind a tree where they can definitely be seen if anybody comes outside.
Yeah, they're not too worried about
hiding.
Yeah.
Which I know we talked about this when we first talked about season 1, but I think that the politics of what it was like to be a queer teen in the 90s is a little kinder in this show than it was in real life, but I also don't mind that. It's a little wish fulfillment-y for me, you know.
But I think that's okay. These girls have been through enough. Let them kiss in the woods.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we get a little Mari losing it, which I'd forgotten happened this early. That she was starting to, like, you know, she thinks something fell on her, which I don't know that we're supposed to know necessarily that didn't happen. Yeah. But it feels like
I think it's a big old bug. But it shows how...
But she's hearing things, and she's like, you know, something's going on with Mari.
She's the one who hears the blood dripping later.
That's what I mean. I don't remember this starting so early, where Mari is, like, reacting to the environment in a different way than everyone else. Like, hearing and feeling things.
But they don't see anything, which is, you know, it could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
But this is when... And it's Jackie, after that little pep talk...
Yep.
Who proposes?
Pep talk worked.
Yeah, she proposes the seance.
Yeah. And everybody's sort of like, I don't know. And she's like, well, maybe give us life advice.
This is hardly, the occult is no laughing matter.
Yes. Which she's not wrong. I was not a fan of Ouija boards.
You're like, I'm not fucking with the Ouija board. I'm not fucking with the seance.
No. I would have been... probably downstairs reading the plan manual.
I would have been too afraid to not be where everybody else was.
That's true.
I would have been there pretending like I wasn't scared shitless.
Yeah.
But I would have been there.
For some reason, things like light as a feather didn't scare me, but Ouija boards are, If you grew up in the 90s with all of those movies, you know you don't want to summon something from anywhere else to, like, come into your home or your space.
That's why whenever we played seance, we would always call George Washington, because I guess who would be afraid if George Washington showed up, you know?
What's he gonna do, cross a river?
Exactly.
I never, because, you know, famously I don't love horror movies, but when I was a kid I watched a bunch of them because my friends did, and there was like the, you know, like all these ways you could summon evil in those movies.
Totally.
You know, what's the one where you look in the mirror and you say
Bloody Mary?
That's the one, Bloody Mary. There's also, like, isn't there Candyman? Was another
Candyman,
one?
same.
Like there's there's all these, like, things you can, like, bring in by...
I don't think Candyman was like legend before the movie. I think that one was sort of like backformed, but Bloody Mary certainly.
Yeah. You just don't do that. Why would you do that? Why would you risk it? No, thank you. This is when Misty brings Ben the poison tea. Jackie and Shauna are setting up our little seance site with their little candles.
It's the first real acknowledgement we get of the symbols, right? And they're setting up placed on those. And the way she says on the symbols that are already there is, like, kind of puts us in the mind of, like, something like this has maybe happened here before.
Yeah, or like, what was that guy doing in that cabin that he had symbols carved into his floor, and, like, in the area they found him dead. Like, yeah, I mean, the finding him dead with the symbols around him is very reminiscent of Travis.
Totally.
Also, and which we're still figuring out in this episode.
Right. But the fact that it is in this episode where we get that new information says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, tying past and present together in general in the show, but this episode specifically feels like there's a lot of it that I didn't recognize earlier. So, like, talking about the symbols in the attic and them also in the same episode figuring out the symbols like around where Travis died.
And then all the stuff with Shauna and Callie later. We did skip over. Sometimes the show is so careful and clever and subtle, and other times there are jokes like she brings him the tea to help with the swelling in your leg.
Yeah.
We get even more of the Nat and Travis flirting.
They're cute here.
Yeah. It's
very teen flirting.
They really flipped the switch on Travis for us after last week. Once he tells her why they called him Flex.
That's all it took, apparently. You can be a misogynistic dick and reveal one little harm that's been caused to you. I mean, his dad's dead also, but...
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not the thing he's struggling with in this. He's struggling with the fact that they call him Flex.
Teen bullying.
Yeah. But they do have a kiss here.
Yep. Yeah. Notably, he's sabotaging her shooting. Like, he takes the bullet out of the gun when she's like trying to shoot a groundhog.
Well, that's what I mean, that they must be doing pretty well. You wouldn't be fucking around
exactly
with that if you were
totally.
Yeah.
When we're at the seance right after this, there's some interesting language. So Jackie's marking everyone with deer blood, and she says it's a classic witch recipe.
That's such a, like, kids making mud pies. Yeah. It's like making spells out in the woods as a child, not actually knowing what you're doing. Classic witch recipe.
Yeah, except it's with blood of a deer that you had to shoot because you were going to starve otherwise.
Exactly.
She also, when she's, like, doing her incantation, she says, she's invoking the keeper of this wild and hidden place, which I thought was interesting. Like, hidden is an interesting word to be using here. Like,
totally.
If I'm crashed in the middle of the woods, hidden is not the word I would use. Yeah. Like, it just feels too cute. Like, oh, we're hidden in the woods, as opposed to, like, we're fucking stranded and starving. Yeah.
Yeah. And also that they think of Jacques as the keeper. Because that's who they're calling in, right? Like, or are they... There are a couple of ways to look at this, because it's not uncommon for a movie that would be like this, where people think they're calling in something more benevolent, and what they actually call in is something much darker. Yeah. Because they're acting as if Shauna is Jacques speaking through Shauna. Yeah. Right? So he's kind of already there. Right. And what comes in after is maybe darker. Through the window. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is such a specifically Yellowjackets scene, because it's mixing, like, horror, humor, like, just teen girl nonsense, like, the unknown. It's everything together.
Exactly. Like, the fact that the first question they ask is, did OJ do it? Is, like, it's perfect.
Yeah. And then, the bookend to that is Javi, like, are we all going to die out here?
Yeah. It's like, right
it's like, okay, Javi.
Let's...
Yeah. We were having fun. You kind of missed the memo on that.
We wouldn't have won nationals, we learn.
Yes. Yeah. And then, Misty asks if the person who she likes her back. And of course we know it's Ben. I feel like there was a lot made here of the fact that when he asks that question, the knife makes either an 8 or an infinity sign. And, like,
because it's like, are you trapped out here forever?
Right.
Right. Did that kind of open up those conversations, those theories on Reddit, that they never actually made it out? Yeah. And that all of the stuff in the future is really like them living out their last.
Which, I don't think is the case, but there's a lot of, I think my main argument for why it's not the case is just the creators and their general vibe. Because, like, I think that they're not going to do something that, I don't want to say easy, but that pat, that much of a, but I can see the argument.
I can totally see the argument, especially because there are lines later in season 2 about, like, like, maybe it's not an exact quote, but I feel like one of them says something like, we never really left, or it's just something very, like, lost-y of them. And as the argument has always been, and I think it has in some ways become less so but also in other ways more so, is it trauma? Because trauma, you're also stuck, right?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
That's what it means. And is it just that, or is it literally they're still there?
Or they all died, and this is, like, what would have happened if they had lived. Yeah, there's lots of those sort of, like, really, I don't want to say heavy-handed, but, like, the idea that either they all died or one of them lived and this is the story they're telling themselves, or like all of those ways that, like, everything we're seeing is actually false or someone's idea of the truth. I don't think we're going to get that type of resolution, but
I don't think so either. And I know I am always harping on Lost, but I wonder if I would be saying I don't think so either if Lost weren't a show.
Yeah.
Like, I think for me, I'm kind of like, yeah, but they saw what happened when Lost tried it, and it would be foolish of them to do something like that, knowing how risky doing something like that could be.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. But right after that, we get the wind picking up, and we get the point of view of something flying in through the window.
Zooming in.
Yeah.
And it throws Lottie into a real tizzy.
Yeah. Where she speaks French all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, and they immediately, Misty, what do we do? They're still looking to Misty as the, like, problem solver, like I don't even know what here.
Yeah. But instead, it's Laura Lee in the attic with the Bible.
It's so funny. She tries, okay, so before.
Yeah. Sorry, I
Lottie,
jumped ahead because it's my favorite.
It's so good.
It's so fun.
Lottie starts her speaking French.
Yeah.
Which suddenly she knows how to do. Yeah. Even though she sucked at French.
And so did Jackie.
Yeah. Well, damn it, Jackie, try not to.
Yeah.
So good.
Yep.
But she's saying.
Yeah. It wants blood.
Or he wants blood.
Yeah. It's hungry. You must spill blood or else. All of the things that, again, in the same episode, we're seeing spill written on, which we'll get to, on Ty's house. And it's all coming together.
Yeah. And it's also, just to put a really fine point on it, there's so much blood stuff in this show, right? Especially in season 2.
Yeah.
Lottie hallucinating the blood, the literal blood, like the hive full of blood.
Yeah.
And this is the first, like, Travis even refers to them as a blood hive.
Yes, he does.
In this episode. And the fact that all of that starts with I'm calling this the period episode is interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was reading something on a website called queerhorrormovies.com, which is pretty cool. They did a Yellowjackets recap.
Oh, cool.
And there's a little bit about this episode where it says, on one hand, you can read what happens in the attic as sort of a group hysteria as the titular blood hive feeds on each other's heightened emotional state. But even Natalie and Travis's discussion while out hunting hints at the way gender politics and superstition feed off of each other. Be it zoology or anthropology, there's a long history of hiding away and blaming women who are on their menses.
Right.
Which, because this was written by a man, he spelled it Menzies, like the Menzingers? The Menzies.
Hey, why aren't Menzingers fans called Menzies?
And that really made me laugh. It's such a great point that I just, totally jumped over because of the way they spelled it. It's such a well-reasoned argument, and then at the end he just spelled Menzies wrong and I lost it. But
that's so funny.
But still a good point.
But yeah, it's an extremely good point. And it's something this show is so good at, is how much of what is happening to these girls is a product of their relationships with each other, with what the outside world places on them.
Yeah.
Like it over and over and over again, we see this.
And a lot of that feels very 90s to me in a way too. Like I think that there was a lot of focus in the 90s on girl power, and we've talked about the no doubt of it all, with Gwen Stefani being this very palatable version of a feminist but still youthful and pretty, and not dressing for the male gaze, but also kind of dressing. There's just so much of this happening at this time,
right,
that it just really feels like it's conscious of that.
I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
This scene with Ben, you already mentioned he does throw up, but it's another
Exorcist.
It's very Exorcist. The show's so funny with the way they layer this stuff, because it's Laura Lee is upstairs performing an exorcism,
using the words from the movie,
literally from the movie.
Yeah.
Ben projectile vomits.
Yeah.
So it's he's been exorcised.
Yeah.
But the reason he's throwing up is because one of the girls upstairs poisoned him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that's obvious. That's what happened, but it's just it's so funny, and it's so messed up, and it just is everything I love about this show.
Yeah. It's all happening at once. And then Laura Lee throws the Bible.
It's so funny. When the exorcism doesn't work, she just literally throws the book at her.
Yep.
And it works.
It works. Lottie's what the hell, Laura Lee?
So good.
What the hell, Laura Lee is one of my favorite lines.
It's really good.
Because she goes from like speaking and intoning in French to like a total teenage girl again.
What the hell? Literally, she snaps out of it.
Yeah.
And goes back to being, it's really good. It makes me so happy, that scene. I love it.
I know, it's really funny. We get the aftermath of it afterwards where like Laura Lee is cleaning blood off the floor. Ben confronts Misty.
It's a calculated risk here, Jodie.
I know, but I think he's taking the path of least likelihood of poisoning.
Yeah,
like he's gonna just play along.
Poor guy, poor Ben.
I mean, he's a good actor.
Yeah, my sweet Misty.
Sweet Misty. Horrifying. Even watching him knowing he's like totally putting it on, it's gross. It's
but it just shows, and knowing everything we know about Ben and where he goes and what he's left behind and all of that, like he is genuinely afraid of Misty, and he has every reason to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems to appease her, but also who knows? Like if she knows he's playing along, like
that's the thing about Misty in general, is I never know.
Yeah.
Because as we know in adulthood, she's aware of the fact that people, even the people she considers, like she calls Nat her bestie, but she also knows, she's like, well, I had to sabotage your car because I knew you wouldn't
me with you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. She knows what people think of her in 2021, and it seems like she knows it also in 96.
Yeah, I don't know that it would matter to Misty if Ben really felt this way, as long as he said and acted as if he did.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. Everyone's laying around. This is sort of the end of 96, but they're talking about whatever's quote unquote up there. Mm-hmm. And of course, Ty is like, y'all are nuts. Nothing's going on. I'm going to go sleep upstairs, trying to be brave.
Mm-hmm. She's like, it's very Jerry Maguire, who's coming with me.
Yeah.
And the way Van just looks at her and shakes her head. Nope.
Nope. But Shauna eventually gets up.
Well, she says we should go up there with her, with Jackie. Like it's both of us or none of us at first.
Yeah. And then we get the split, which is of course foreshadowing.
Yeah, this is huge.
Yeah, the movement from, and we talked about this with the simple thing of like Ty wanting to lead people to the lake and Shauna quote unquote siding with Ty, but this is another sort of Ty pulling Shauna away from Jackie a little bit.
So maybe you're right, the Ty is the alpha uterus. It's so hard to say.
I think she
maybe
is
the real issue is maybe there are two alpha
and there can't
uteri.
Be. There's only
uteri?
Yeah, I don't know. There can only be one alpha uterus, Andrea.
Exactly. And they're really fighting it out, and Shauna is the pawn over which we'll find out. And right now it looks like Ty is coming out on top in terms of who the alpha is,
because we have a Jackie popsicle at the end. So but when Shauna goes upstairs, this is where we realize Ty knows that Shauna's pregnant. And Shauna asks her not to tell anyone.
Flat out says,
how far along are you?
And then when Ty says, I have a feeling it'll come out one way or another, and it's like the truth, also the baby.
Also the baby. Yeah. Not wrong.
Man, we were obsessed.
I know.
With this baby.
I know, for so long.
Yeah. And I think we had, for good reason, but it is crazy to think like now we just know.
Yeah.
This also put me in the mind of that scene. It's in season 1. It's coming up, I think, where Shauna and Ty in 2021 end up like, I think does Ty stay at Shauna's house? Yeah, and they're like in bed, kind of like
what she's doing. Yeah,
that's right. And they're like kind of like giggling and like having like and it's like
party vibes.
Yeah, which they've been doing since 1996, and it really makes me feel for the two of them.
Yeah, it also makes you realize like so much of the first season was set up around Shauna and Jackie as these like best friends, soulmates, like two peas in a pod, whatever you want to call it. But really, over the long haul, Ty and Shauna are that in a way.
Yeah.
Like when they're talking in that scene you're mentioning, in Shauna's house, and they're talking about like what they were going to do versus what they did. And there's just this like, there's a difference between like your high school best friend and the romanticization of that relationship versus someone who has actually known you for like 20 plus years, even if it's not like that same intense romantic friendship. It's like the longevity of like knowing each other over a long period of time.
Right. Totally. And that's true even if your first high school best friend didn't freeze to death out.
Yeah.
Even
if that didn't happen. That's still true. All right. In 2021, Shauna and Adam are going at it. Not
everything.
Literally, but
Shauna's story in this episode is everything to me.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And Melanie Lynskey is
she's
like
perfect.
Killing it with the perfect tone of like impish, like frightening, sweet.
She does it
funny, all of it.
And some of it all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like she's just perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, she's texting Adam in the kitchen as the toast burns.
She's a distracted housewife now.
Yes. Thinking about her boyfriend and when they can meet up. Which, to be honest, it's a little reckless to be like, I'm going to ditch Halloween with the family and like lie to my husband about a book club on Halloween. None of this makes any sense.
No,
she's being really careless.
But I feel like Jeff is distracted enough that he doesn't really think about it too much. We get it's one of mine too, but I think of this as like one of your quintessential Yellowjackets lines is in this scene.
Yes, it is. The people who matter recognize Daria. Okay.
Shauna's right.
She's right.
And
She's very
it's
right.
so much more fun to watch these scenes with Callie now that I love her so much, because I'm like, and knowing what like, cause she says like, our daughter is an asshole to Jeff, but it's like, Shauna, so are you.
Yeah, you're an asshole too.
She learned it from you.
Yeah, she learned it by watching you.
Exactly. I am not upset at all watching Callie, except there's one thing in this episode that is, she crosses a line. She doesn't realize it's a line she's crossing, really.
Yeah.
Though it's still kind of a jackass move in the first place, but
yes.
But I just feel so differently watching her in these scenes with Shauna this time around.
Yeah, like she's fully justified in most of her behavior.
Isn't it funny that Shauna's the one who says she's the only one in this family who thinks that actions should have consequences?
Yeah. I know there's a lot of those lines where now you're like, huh, interesting.
Yeah. Although I guess she's got like the ultimate action having a consequence with Jeff's baby in the woods. So maybe it's actually not. It seems funny for someone who's cheating on her husband actively to say that, but she does think he's cheating on her, and she kind of thinks the reason she's justified in cheating on him is because she thinks he's cheating on her, and that their relationship started with the two of them cheating on Jackie. So it does kind of
it does
check out.
It does. There's another one of my like sort of low-key favorite lines in the same scene where she says that the book club is the opposite of a sausage fest, and Jeff just kind of quietly is like, clam bake?
he thinks about it for a second. It's like, what would that be? And she's like, no, don't.
It's so perfect.
That's so
Come on,
funny.
You gotta appreciate Jeff's little lines.
He just can't help himself.
No.
They're reading The Girl in the Train window.
Yeah. So many references in this episode to other pop culture things. Like within one scene, it's like Daria, those books. Like right before that, we had the Exorcist stuff. Yeah. I don't know if we said this. We're gonna stick with like each character and go through the whole thing with them. So we're staying with Adam and Shauna at the club in New York. She's feeling old.
Why? Yeah, and she should. So should Adam.
Yeah.
He is also too old to be here.
Too old to be there.
Why
I know.
Does he take her to this club?
Yeah. So this is what I mean when I say I'm more suspicious of Adam this time around than I was last time.
It's like bad idea.
Well, it's not just that. It's the club that her daughter is at.
You think
So I don't think this, but it is so tempting for me to be like, I don't trust Adam. I trust him less now than I used to for some reason. I've gotten more suspicious this rewatch. And like, New York City is not a small place.
Could be Philly. We don't know what city.
It's New York. New York City is not.
Do you know how expensive? You might know better than I would. I know they make a big deal about these pre-auths for the Uber to the city, but how expensive?
Probably quite expensive. Because
here's what I know.
Uber didn't exist when I lived in the city, but
I can tell you, I live in Philadelphia in the burbs. It's depending on who you talk to, they would say it's not the burbs of Philadelphia, it's the city proper. I am as far away from Center City, but I'm still in Philadelphia. And I can tell you, if I want to take an Uber from my house to the train, it's like $50 or $60.
Yeah.
And I'm not going through a tunnel or over a bridge, and I'm not going
with
from
a huge toll.
It could easily be $100 or more.
Yeah.
And there's like, I don't care what the blackmail level ends up being. Like,
that's expensive.
And I don't know that we're like, if I'm thinking too much about that or not.
Probably.
But it could be Newark. It could be, they could be going to party at a warehouse in Newark. I don't know. You don't think so?
There is not one person that grew up anywhere near North Jersey that has referred to the
Monmouth
city.
County girls.
Close enough. That has referred to the city as anything other than New York City.
No, and it's, I mean, I'm getting a little overly whatever about it, because here too, the city but my actual argument, the only reason I said Newark is so then I could follow up and say, or it could be Philly.
It's not Philly.
Could be Philly.
It's not Philly. It's so not Philly.
What does Monmouth County consider the city? Because that's a North-South Jersey test. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so far.
But there are trains that go there.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But if I were Shauna, I'd be like,
take the train.
Take the fucking train.
Yeah. Well, and Adam drives them in.
How expensive would an Uber be? In my head, I'm like, from Monmouth. I'm sorry. Let's find out. Let's just find out real quick.
Yeah.
Let me just call an Uber.
Well, the other thing about it being New York City that is really like unfathomable to me and makes me suspicious of Adam is how do they end up at the same Halloween party?
The odds of that are so slim.
In New York City. Like
it's
nearly impossible unless
Adam
already knows.
Right?
Adam already knows who she is, that she has kids, and is somehow like in on all of this, knows where Callie is. I don't know. I know that it's crazy, but it's like there's no fucking way they end up at the same warehouse party.
It's either crazy or it's lazy. In my head, that's Brooklyn. So let's just say an Uber to Brooklyn. Okay. It could be, I guess it could be Manhattan, but I think that would be...
Jersey girls in the 90s would not have gone to Brooklyn. Oh, okay, this isn't the 90s, though. This is 2021.
They would absolutely go to Brooklyn.
Yeah, they would. You're right.
Right now at $150 on a Sunday, not on Halloween night. I know I'm overthinking this. It's $150 to go. So, like...
Yeah.
I would say way more like... You could put another $100 on that. Again, maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm sure that I am. But it's either, like you said, first, now I'm talking about 12 different things. The stuff with Adam is either suspicious or lazy. The stuff with Callie, I'm certainly overthinking. Yeah. I just don't know where else they'd be going.
This, now we're really getting into the weeds, but this to me would be an argument that these are Bergen County kids. Mm-hmm. And not Monmouth.
I think the more I think about it, I think maybe Bart and Ashley are purposefully making, because they've said like we know it's a fictional town.
Yeah,
they didn't need to do that.
Yeah,
except that it makes it you can do a kind of amalgamation of things, which I think is actually what's going on. Yeah. You can't really say it is or isn't Bergen or Monmouth, whatever.
Right. I thought about this too. We'll get to Ty, but when she's talking about her polling, she talks about in the suburbs as if they're not, and it does look like she's in more of an urban area.
Yeah.
And I wondered if that's supposed to be like Jersey City or something.
In my head, Ty is in Jersey City. Yeah. I don't have any real reasons other than it, like you said, like it kind of looks like. I know they didn't film in Jersey City, so it just...
But it's implying some sort of more city area in New Jersey, and it doesn't strike me as Newark.
Yeah, no. I think...
Jersey City is more like
Could it be Patterson?
Up and coming professional. It's definitely not Patterson.
Well, hold on though. Here's what I know about Patterson most is that the streets are weirdly empty. That's what we learned watching Patterson the movie.
Right. Nobody really
and when
lives there.
She's outside, it's just her and a wolf.
Yeah.
So could be Patterson.
It could be, but I don't think that it is. I think that she and Simone would.
If you didn't listen to our Patterson episode, please know I know there are people in Patterson.
Yes.
It's just that
it's a
movie
reference to the movie.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that in the world of this show, Simone and Ty would be sort of a part of the wave of like upper middle class professionals that moved into Jersey City in like the mid 2010s.
Mm-hmm. We don't know what university Simone teaches at, just that she's rising star in their comp lit department, right?
Yeah. Which in my brain it was Rutgers, but
me too.
Just because it's, they mentioned Rutgers in the show multiple times. So, but yeah, Adam and Shauna at this party, to me, I'm just like, something's not right.
Yeah. He
mentions being at Pratt. He tries to have them wear those masks, and she's like, I'm not feeling it. Mm-hmm. Which, even when this episode came out, we had seen the pilot where they're all wearing these like horrific animal masks.
Yeah.
And so kind of made that connection of her being like, no, this little paper thing from Party City it's not up to my standards.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. There's no real animal pelts used in this paper mask.
If I'd known, I would have whipped one of my own up real quick. You should have told me.
I would have brought out the rabbit skins in my basement.
They do look so out of place. Again, both of them. It is so weird. It's such a weird choice on his part. And we should be moving on, and I know you were trying to move us on past it, but it is crazy that they ended up at the same friggin' party.
I know. She's supposed to be what, like in high school?
Even if we're suspending our disbelief for this show, which I know is hard for me sometimes. Like I'm getting in the weeds about how expensive an Uber would be to New York if that's where they're going. But even if, how do you have that happen? Because it could have just as easily happened. Shauna and Adam are driving back from wherever they went, and Shauna realizes that Callie is out past curfew because she sees her getting dropped off on the corner or something. Like it could have happened any other way.
Right. But yeah, having them run into each other at that party, it's sort of like, it's such a coincidence that it either is, like you said, it's either lazy or it means something. But yeah, I wrote in all caps, why are they at the same party as Callie?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Shauna hallucinates Jackie, sort of. Sees Callie dressed as a Yellowjacket and follows her.
Well, and she did just last week. I think it was last week. It might have been the episode before, but I think it was last week. Was hallucinating Jackie. It was last week when she and Adam were out on the bridge.
Yep.
So it's...
Yep. Yeah. And I love that Callie's on Molly here. It's the Sarah Desjardins, I think is her name. The way she approaches this scene is really funny to me.
Philadelphia Flyer. He was one of my favorites. Eric
I remember him. Yeah.
I don't think they're related.
No. You never know. But yeah, the way she's acting, being on Molly, is really funny to me here. And I love that she clarifies it for her mom. She's like, ecstasy. Because it's a generational thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, just her saying, is that your lover? Oh wait, it's another great Shauna line. She clarifies ecstasy. She says, where do you think we're going? The after party?
Yeah.
We're going home.
Yeah. Also, they're like sitting, it looks like they're sitting on a curb or something talking, which is very, I don't know, it feels very appropriate having like a serious conversation outside on a curb in the city. It just feels like real. I'm assuming they're waiting for an Uber, like a very expensive Uber.
A very
to go
expensive
home.
Uber. Callie is kind of an asshole here because she's like, what she's saying is like, why would this younger, she doesn't say this, but what she's saying is, why would this younger hot guy be interested in you? It's probably only because he knows you're a Yellowjacket.
Yeah. Which, I mean, this is an important moment, though, because it's like, how has it not occurred to Shauna?
Yeah.
That
it
she's
also seems like Shauna's never Googled herself before.
Right. Which, that's a little suspect also. Like,
yeah.
She's such a weird combination of, like, cunning and so dumb about things. Like, and I find it believable. I'm not saying it's not, like, that it doesn't feel real.
She's cunning, but also underestimates the people around her, I think, is the problem. Because she's so cunning. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's why she's not suspicious of Jeff cheating until it's right. We know he's not, but, like, until it's right in her face. And so I could see she's like, I'm in control, so I don't really need to worry about what other people are doing until I need to, is maybe what that is.
But she also just has some real blind spots and is very careless. Like, it's interesting to me because it kind of rings true. Like, she feels like a more fleshed out character, I think, than a lot of them, because she has multiple sides to her personality. Like, she can expertly skin a deer, but also is, like, making just the dumbest mistakes in lying to her family.
The scene made me cry this time.
Oh, really?
And it's because I love Callie so much now, I think.
Yeah.
But when she says, you guys never do, Shauna tells Callie that she's wearing Jackie's uniform. And Callie thought she was wearing her mom's uniform.
Right.
Still,
which is
so
fucked up
tasteless.
enough. Yeah.
She still is dressed up like a dead Yellowjacket.
Yeah.
Like, she's got the zombie makeup on and all.
Yeah.
She just didn't realize she was wearing a dead girl's uniform.
Yeah. It's fucked up to begin with, and it's more so when it's Jackie's uniform.
But she does actually seem like a little remorseful now. She's like, fuck, I didn't know. You guys never talk about her. That's when I started to, she just...
Yeah, well, she, like, there's a moment where she drops her, like, obnoxious teen facade, and you realize that she knows how fucked up her mom is. That it's not that she's, like, just an angry teen, but she's probably like this because her mom is just broken. You know, like she says, you're not okay.
Right.
Like, you're so not okay.
Right. I think the Molly helps her connect here.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that they would have been having this conversation so blatantly and so vulnerably if she weren't on Molly. But
also, this is before we knew, obviously, that Jackie had died, but we find out that Jackie's parents gave the uniform to Shauna for Jackie's 40th birthday.
Which is, I keep, like, trying to put myself back in the mind frame of somebody watching it then, because it's like, because I'm like, oh, this is where we get confirmation that Jackie died. Right? Like, why else would... But then I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be... What if actually she went crazy? Right? And there's a scene later where she's in, like, a mental hospital and they go visit her. Yeah. And that's why.
There were so many possibilities
Or she died. Yeah, she died the year that she turned 40. And that's when she, like, who knows? Yeah. Because, like, her 40th birthday, she could still be alive. When you phrase it that way, right? Like...
Yeah,
but I
so
think
many
this
options.
But don't you think this is the moment we all kind of consider as confirmation that Jackie dies?
Yeah, I do. I love this part, though, because we get the confrontation between Shauna and Callie, and Callie is back to herself. The Molly has worn off. She needs some Pedialyte. She's trying to blackmail her mom. She's forgotten. You don't fuck with Shauna.
You don't fuck with Shauna. And it's funny, too, because we see her try the blackmail thing again later with fucking detective shitbag. And she kind of succeeds, sort of, then.
Yeah, not with Shauna.
It's so good. You really think for a second maybe Shauna's stuck. Like, for half of 1 second, maybe.
Yeah, mutually assured destruction. I also, the real move here is when Shauna, like, calls her bluff and, like, calls Jeff in and is like, Callie needs to tell you something. That's bold.
Because you think, like, that's the line of Shauna not, the, like, levels that Shauna will go to. It's that like, makes her showing up at the body shop in season 2 with a gun. Makes sense.
I forgot about that.
You know what I mean? There are no lengths to which Shauna will not go to protect herself. And
yeah, she's like, go ahead.
Right, because you could stop before she calls Jeff in. Yeah. And then you have to trust that it worked and that Callie isn't going to spill. But she tests her right then and there.
Yep.
She's
Yeah. Calls him right in. And she sees that she's in that spot.
Shauna's the alpha uterus here for sure because
Yes.
Callie could have said, Callie is like so tail between her legs here, because Callie could have said, oh, nothing, or thank you for, sorry I missed curfew last night. But she like really kind of like is like, I keep wanting to say like put her tail between her legs, like has her belly up. Like she's like, she's so afraid of Shauna in this moment that she really is so honest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she tells her dad that she snuck into the city and did drugs. Mm-hmm. And such a Jeff response. He's like, lying is really uncool. Like, okay, Jeff. Good parenting there.
He's a bad parent, but a good dad, maybe. Like, I don't know. Yeah. He's a loving but ineffective parent, I think.
He's definitely willing to let Shauna be the bad guy all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And just,
And Shauna will.
Yeah. The only other time we see them in this episode is at the very end. We see Shauna Googling herself. I cannot believe she has not Googled herself.
That seems crazy, right?
Yes.
Like I've Googled myself.
Yeah. I do it a lot, actually.
Well, makes
because
sense.
My art stuff, I'm trying to see what comes up to the top.
She doesn't have like a common name. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Shauna if I Google Sadecki.
Yeah, like if I Google my name, there are a bunch of Andrea Quinns who come up first. So I don't really, but it just seems like
Shauna has a name like my full name, which is very uncommon.
Jodie Sadecki. It's a really weird coincidence.
Yes, it's strange. So let's move on to Nat. I noted again that she's watching something about UFOs and wondered, there's been conversation about what are the supernatural things? And it's definitely UFO stuff comes up on this show occasionally. So I don't think it has anything to do with it, but
maybe she's been replaced. It's a hotel show, They're like, if I'm in a hotel, I'm watching Ghost Hunters. Like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah. Sorry, I just spaced.
Kevin is so awkward with her. He calls and says, glad I caught you, which is such a weird thing. Like, as if he doesn't know that Nat is waiting for these results. And also, glad I don't know. It's just such a weird.
Yeah, that's not a thing with cell phones.
No. Glad I caught you where?
Yeah. He's awkward throughout this whole conversation.
Yeah.
But he tells her that he got Travis's file and the tox was clean and that, maybe it will put her mind at ease, which it definitely won't.
No, because it's all the more proof.
Yeah.
And it lends it the theory for me too, because I'm like, oh, the fact that he did it sober is does feel unlikely.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was just looking ahead at the next bit where he tries to ask her out again, she bails on the call, but then she calls Misty.
I don't blame her. I'm like, poor Kevin. He knew he was getting set up, but he still had to try.
Yeah.
But her being like, oh, gotta go. Yeah. Interference.
Getting another call. Yeah. You're breaking up.
I'm going through a tunnel in a very expensive Uber.
Yeah, exactly. But I was laughing because I looked ahead and saw that Misty is listed as don't pick up in her contacts, which is great. The idea of going through your contacts and calling the person that you've labeled don't pick up, that's just funny in and of itself. And Misty is in a cat costume at work.
This scene is also great. Misty wants an apology.
Yeah. This is so the playfulness with which she turns off her patient's heart monitor. It's
just to
such a good gag. Yeah.
Oh, she's such a demon. Everything about it, Misty dressed up in a cat costume and the Halloween scrubs. So she's leading into the holiday.
Yeah.
Just so callous about this woman.
Yeah.
Everything about it is so good.
Yeah.
Code blue.
Doctor. And the kids run out screaming.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
God, Yellowjackets is a comedy. I don't think I've said that yet this rewatch, or this episode at least, but it's 100% the show's a comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. But Misty is like, yeah, okay, I'll get in touch with my source, Stallion 99.
Stallion 99.
She shows up at Nat's and she knocks in like a pattern.
We don't need a code.
I love it. But Misty wants so badly to need a code.
Uh-huh.
And she brings her the nanny cam.
Right. She's got good news and bad news. The good news is the nanny cam.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would. Misty's so crazy that I don't think I would let anything into my home that she brought.
Absolutely.
But she's also so weird that I don't know that I would question her bringing a and she does the thing. It's not a catalog, but she talks a lot around it to kind of like make Nat dizzy with it. So Nat just kind of sets it down and doesn't really think about it.
Yeah. She's like describing the scents and the tropical florals and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like sort of a little sideshow to distract.
Exactly.
Yeah. But she says that the contact wants to meet in person, and Nat's like, all right.
Yeah, Nat's like, let's fucking do it.
Let's fucking go. I'm going to siphon some gas in the parking lot from her own car.
So badass.
Put it in the thermos that they're going to sneak into the bar that nobody is in.
Yeah, totally empty bar.
Yeah.
Stallion 99 in African gray.
Of course. There's a lot of leopard print in this episode. Nat's wearing a leopard print jacket. It's everywhere in like shoes, clothing,
the, animal print in general.
So much animal print. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Part of that is the jersey of it all, but part of it is that these are people.
I mean, there's like references to wildness everywhere.
Yeah.
Like we'll get to it with Ty, but like I was reminded again that Sammy's fucking bedspread has like a forest print on it, like with little owls and stuff.
I just don't understand.
Yeah. And like one of the rooms in Ty's house has like a jungle print wallpaper. Like it's just, these people are nuts. I just
think I would want to be in the most clinically sparse, industrial.
Real modernist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah.
Not cold. Like spare kind of.
Sterile. Is the right word.
Yeah, sterile. Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. But in my notes, I just wrote, they threatened to set him on fire and he hands over a flash drive.
Right. Yep.
Basically.
You should ask that guy out. Yeah, you two have so much in common.
I love when Nat like digs at Misty.
Mm-hmm. And so they get the file and they go back and they're looking over the autopsy photos, and Nat can't help but like kind of flash back to, a happier time where Travis is, still alive.
This also comes right after, I think, the scene in 96 where the two of them are getting together. Nat tries to shoot the groundhog. Travis has the bullet. He chases her. They kiss. And then immediately it flips to her picturing him as an adult in bed.
That's right. Yeah, so that juxtaposition is really sad.
Yeah.
But as she's kind of flashing back and forth between alive Travis and these pictures, that's when Misty notices the wax symbols.
Which, come on.
I know. This never works for me.
It's like a constellation that you look at and you're like, that's a horse. You're like, no, it's dots. Like you just put a horse on top of those dots.
And I'm sure there are versions of this that couldn't make the symbol. You know what I mean? Like if there were 5 wax spots in a row, then fine. But like this could be so many.
Yeah.
Many things.
This was just like, and you see Nat in the background watching her do it, and just like you can kind of feel the mood like shift. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was like, okay.
And we don't know. So we just talked about what actually happens in that scene. Well, we reviewed that scene in light of all of the information we've been given so far. Mm-hmm. Because from what Lottie has told us, which we know we can't take for fact.
Right.
But what we have seen is Lottie shows up after Travis is already there. The candles are already burning. He's ready to go.
He has set it up himself, we think.
So, right. But what we know, though, is that Travis... the more and more I think about it, think Lottie's group did have something to do with it, because we know how much she loves the symbology of all of this. And it's my favorite scene in this whole series is when we get that aerial shot and her campsite or whatever is laid out with the symbol. Like, she fucking loves it. She can't get enough of the symbol.
I know.
And it's just like, I also think, like, even if she's telling the truth about Travis thinking you need to get as close to death as possible, all of that, the candles don't fit in that.
Well,
do they?
So what's weird here is, there's a lot that has been made of Nat saying Travis didn't believe in any of this shit. And I think that we see, actually, that's maybe not true. Like, at least in part.
That's a really good point. I feel like I don't remember exactly, but now that you're saying that, I'm remembering us having this conversation and one of us being like, Nat said Travis didn't believe in that shit, but we see here that he definitely did.
Yeah, that he at least has an openness to it, and he's being kind of torn between Lottie and Nat. Oh,
you know why? Because he's one of the ones who takes, like, communion with Lottie when they go off to the hunt and all.
Right. Yeah, no, he definitely, like, later on especially in season 2, we see him being kind of torn between the two of them.
That's such a good point. Okay. So maybe he did. Or even if he was just setting it up to parallel the circumstances that led to what he thinks of as the first example of this. Because he says we have to get as close to death as possible. And they flash back to Lottie, this scene actually, or the seance scene in this episode where she smacks her head against the window. He considers that one of those close to death moments. Yeah. I don't think you and I necessarily do, but sure.
Yeah. But yeah.
But so all that to say, it is, if we're believing what we know so far, Travis is the one who set these candles up in the first place. But the reason they're gone is because Lottie took them after the fact.
Yeah. When Nat says Travis didn't believe in any of this shit, Misty says, then why is it in the place where he died?
Right.
And, this is what I mean when I say that rewatching has made me more suspicious of people, because, like, I'm so suspicious of Misty in this moment. I don't know. She seems to be leading Nat into certain observations or certain places. Like, we talked about how when they go to the place where Travis died and see him, like, Misty is, like, kind of pulling her towards it while also being like, don't look. Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm probably reading too much into everything, but I'm finding Misty and Adam both much more suspicious this time around.
Yeah, I think at the very least, we know that Misty doesn't have any involvement with Lottie's cult. She's...
Right. Yes.
But I think she's such a conspiracy theorist that...
she's got a hostage basement. Like, there's just so many things that I would not put past her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess we'll see at some point. I don't know.
2025?
Maybe we'll get... It's 2025, I think.
I know.
I mean, we're just about halfway through February at this point.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Slowly but surely.
I
know. All right. Going to Ty. She's got bad poll results in the suburbs.
Holy moly. Yeah. She's trailing by 20 points in the burbs.
Yep. Which, again, makes me think she's in Jersey City, even though nobody cares but me.
I care.
This is where she and Simone are having a little sexy moment, and Biscuit is like, who are you?
Right, yeah. But Ty thinks the alarm is because he has also seen the wolf outside.
That's very strange.
It's crazy to me because she must know she's hallucinating.
I mean, does she really think there's a wolf on the streets of, like, the city?
Right, but she goes out there as if she's going to hunt it, and she says, keep the dog inside, or don't let the dog outside, whatever.
Yeah, she's fully, like, I think what we're meant to believe is that just like at the party, there's this, like, slippage between past and present that's happening to her, where she, like, really believes that what she sees is actually there.
Right. Even if... And this sort of lends itself to the supernaturally of it, is that, like, even if her rational brain knows there's not literally a wolf there, there's an active part of her brain. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she feels like she's got to go protect her family.
Mm-hmm. And this is when she discovers the spill in red paint on the door.
Right.
It's a shocking image.
Which in the moment, I think I'm pretty sure, supposed to believe that she knows Sammy did it. But that was high up. How?
Oh, you think in that moment already she thinks it was him?
No, maybe not.
Because they discover the paint a little later.
Right. Yeah, it's the paint under the bed. That's the clue. You're right. But yeah, I do think that we have had all this buildup of Sammy being sort of suspect and creepy and weird. And so it's very easy when we see the paint to be like, oh, of course. Of course it was the creepy kid who is far too short to do this without a little ladder out there.
Yeah, it makes no sense. But even before that, whether we think it's the, Bathurst's constituents or what, because he's giving this like Ty is keeping a secret from all of you kind of thing. So spill, right? We also know at this point, or we don't know at this point in the episode, but now that spill is probably very triggering for Ty because spill blood, right? You must spill blood is
right. Yeah. Yeah. That language is very weighted. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
If Sam was not bullied before this Halloween, they sent that child out. Sandwich is very funny. And if he were 30 years old and wanted to be a sandwich for Halloween, fine.
It's so cute, though.
He's like 10 years old. You can't send... Could you imagine? In New Jersey?
Yeah, that's
mercilessly bullied.
That's very
and
true.
Rightly so.
No, you're right. You're right. Right. He would have been teased mercilessly for that costume.
And he would have deserved it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I hadn't thought about that because I'm looking at it as an adult like, oh, he's so cute in that little costume. But like other 10-year-olds, absolutely not.
No.
They're all dressed up as some like, video game character, superhero.
Yeah,
like,
they're all fucking Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
And I almost said Monsters, Inc. What's that? Monster High Dolls? Like,
yeah.
And then
he's a
Sam out trick-or-treating with his parents.
Yeah.
As
Sam
a sandwich.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Can we dig into this candy for a second?
Sure.
Did you take a look at that haul? Sort
of.
It's bullshit. Where were they trick-or-treating? These
Nothing
parents
good?
do not love their child. No. It's like all like it looks like saltwater taffy to me, but it's like those little like bullshit.
Yeah.
Like wax wrapped.
Right. I did notice the saltwater taffy. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting.
Asbury Park.
Maybe they're in Asbury Park. It's not a city, but like I could see it has more of an urban vibe to it than, urban is a rough word to use there, but like it has more going on. It's kind of a city.
Yeah, it doesn't, when she's outside, it doesn't look like Asbury Park. But again, they didn't film it in New Jersey, so it's not real. There's not going to be a 1-to-1.
Right.
But I think they're...
The saltwater taffy of it all.
Maybe they went to Ty's. You know what I could see happening? Is they took him trick-or-treating. They went to Ty's parents. And I think they're Red Bank, Asbury Park. I think they grew up in a shore town. I don't think Ty lives there now, but I could see them going. We used to go to my Nana Pops to trick or treat.
Okay.
Because then the like parents would hang around with their, so I could see that being the case.
Right.
But
I just hadn't thought about the saltwater taffy, but
I think, I'm not sure.
No, I noticed it at the time, and I think you're right. I noticed it. I just didn't register.
But either way, it's like, listen, I love saltwater taffy. I'm from, of course. Yeah. But if I came home on Halloween with a bag full of saltwater taffy, I would be pissed.
Yeah.
Like, that haul is sad.
Yeah, it is. And 6 pieces is not very much to eat on Halloween. That's pretty strict. I'm not a fan of that kind of parenting.
Yeah. If you want to turn that up for the day after Halloween, but come on. Let this creepy little kid eat himself sick and go to bed with a stomach ache like all the rest of us did.
Exactly.
Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
Sandwich.
And biscuit is a hot dog.
Mm-hmm. Also, poor taste if you're if the rumor is that you're a cannibal to send your beloveds out dressed as food.
That's really true. I hadn't thought about that.
None of this is well thought out for Ty.
No. She gets a postcard from Bathurst. Mm-hmm. She goes up to put away his costume, and this is when she sees the red paint under his bed.
Well, it's interesting. Simone is the one in this scene. This is the difference, where Simone is the one in this scene who suggests, like, maybe it's time to, she says spill about, and for Simone, it's like, well, you came, like, if you're coming from my family, right? Like, that's why. It's not, and for Ty, it's totally politically motivated.
Yeah. I also noticed this time in Sammy's room, there's a picture of a pair of red Converse on the wall. Like, what?
Huh.
When she is standing in his bedroom and looking towards the bed and sees the paint, behind her it looks like either a drawing or a photograph of a pair of red Converse sneakers. What? Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. But I never noticed it before until this time.
Knowing how important to us, anyway, to the watchers, to the people who watch this show, the pink Converse, that close-up on them was.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's like a lot of his drawings were vaguely referencing things he couldn't have been. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Their set design, the choices are so baffling.
I know.
No wonder we're insane about the show. You can't do stuff like that. And they'd be like, what?
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah, he just happens to have a photograph or a picture of sneakers on the wall. Like, Converse sneakers of all things. Not like, it makes no sense.
It is really strange. This paint is comical. It's open. Yeah. There's a little pool of
on the floor.
It like might as well have like Sammy's footprints leading to it. Like, it's so obvious. It's as if Ty wanted to make sure that she found it later under Sam's bed.
Planting it for herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. So then I think immediately after that, we see her confront Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
And he says the lady in the tree did it.
You think at this point Ty knows she's the lady in the tree? She must.
I don't know.
She knows she's pretty oblivious. Sleepwalker.
I know. It would make no sense that she didn't, but at the same time, in watching it, her reaction is very like convincing to me that she thinks that Sammy's lying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think so too. Yeah. But I just am also like, how?
I know.
How could she think that?
He does the classic sweep the table of the candy. Very dramatic.
Well, it's bullshit candy, so I get it. Maybe he was looking for an excuse.
Yeah. It's like, where are the Snickers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is when Ty agrees to drop out. She's talking to Simone, and they're, like, discussing if it's worth it for all of this.
Simone says a very cryptic, you know you never get the time back. None of us will.
Yeah. I know.
Ty's like, I know about lost time, bitch. Like, I lost 19 months of my life, and I'm still...
Yeah.
Climbing trees over it. Like, believe me, I know.
This is the episode where I was kind of starting to get annoyed with Simone. Mm-hmm. I was like, you're very preachy, and I don't know.
But it does come down to, we still don't know how much these people know, the people in their lives know about what really went on out there.
Right. My feeling is that Simone knows not much. Like, she knows it happened, but she knows, like, the official line. Mm-hmm. And then it was very hard, and they starved and scrimped and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't think she told her the truth.
It's so funny, because if that had been me, I would have told everybody I know, every detail, and made them all swear not to tell anybody, and tell them all that I've never told anybody, that everybody would know. Everyone would know everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think... I also feel like the reason that I fully believe Simone doesn't know the truth is because I don't think that she is the type of person that would have stayed with Ty if she knew all of that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Or at the very least wouldn't have had a child with her. So Ty's going to drop out. And then we get that scene, which is incredible. It's such a quintessential Ty scene. It does come right after the seance. That feels... I don't know, relevant to me. It's like all of these women are a little possessed still by something.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
And do we know does Ty ever say whether or not she was a sleepwalker before they got to the woods?
She doesn't. I don't think.
I didn't think so.
Yeah. I think that
she seemed to have had a like pretty stress-free life up until that point. Yeah. She seems to have like loving, caring. I know we only have one scene with them, but she seems to have like loving, reasonable
Right.
caring parents. Her house seems very nice.
But
she's doing well in school.
Had that weird shit with her grandma.
That's
and
a good point.
The hauntedness of it.
Really good point.
And like, I don't know that she saw the man with no eyes when her grandma did. I think it was implied that just her grandma saw it because she was like, what's going on?
Right.
But now she sees him.
Mm-hmm. This scene, again, everything is in this scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you totally see her flip. It's
incredible. Just the way that Tawny, the way her eyes change.
Yeah.
And she even smiles different. Mm-hmm. Like the look she gives Simone when she like smiles is like chilling.
I know. Yeah, she's going ahead no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows that it's not what her family wants, but...
Right. And she doesn't just say... She's not just redoubling her campaign efforts. She goes and uses the imagery of spill and lies. She knows... Even if she doesn't know that she painted it, she at the very least thinks her kid did.
Yeah.
And unveils it and uses that. Because she could have just not done that. She could have just said, I'm just here to tell you guys. Like,
right.
Bathurst can say what he wants in these postcards, whatever, but...
Yeah. No, she completely takes this, like, thing that either she or her kid did at this point and is like, I'm going to just use this to my advantage. It's very... I wouldn't say calculated because it seems like it's a spur of the moment switch.
Yeah.
But it's very cunning.
Yeah. That's maybe the difference. You know how we've been saying all along with this rewatch that like the line between Ty and other Ty is actually much thinner than we have argued. But there are some moments where it's even Ty as calculating and as kind of like cutthroat or whatever she can be.
Yeah.
There's still a line. And I think involving her family, right, in this is maybe the line.
Yeah. And you can very much see, because she goes up there and she's like hearing in her head her like calm political voice reading the card. And then it flips.
And the other Ty says, oh, no.
No. There's a guy with no eyes staring at you. Like.
We've kind of lost sight of Slender Man in season 2. I know we see him in the woods a little bit when she does her sleepwalking, but whoever's going on there,
it's still completely a mystery.
Yeah, and I don't know what I think, and I know we don't think that little Ty saw that no-eyed man,
right?
But they had to make a choice of how to represent him, and he looks exactly the same to her grandmother as he does to her, for us at least.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a consistency there that they wanted us to
absolutely.
clue into. And so that also lends itself to the supernatural, because if it's just Ty hallucinating,
right,
why would it be exactly the same as the one her grandmother saw?
Right. Epigenetics exists, but it's not usually that specific.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting that they have made this, because they didn't have to show him in the grandmother scene. They could have just had her seeing a man with no eyes, and we don't get to see it because Ty didn't either. Right.
It's very specific.
This whole scene, I could just spend forever here because it is... We've made a lot of the whole Ty running for office thing. Mm-hmm. First the what's the big deal about this position in particular, right? Like she's just a land use lawyer, all of that. And then also the why would she ever run in the first place knowing she's got this secret history? But that's a real question because it's so important for her to win, so much so that other Ty, who only steps in when she really needs to, right? Like, she's also the one who puts Simone in a fucking coma. Like, what is going on with Ty, whether subconsciously, unconsciously, whatever, where she thinks getting this position is so important?
I know.
Like, what is being set up there?
Like, my instinct from what the show has shown us is just that she has a side of her that is power hungry in a way, which doesn't necessarily fit with what we know of her outside of that. Right. But at the same time, if we think back to our very first episode where she takes out Allie because she wants to win,
Right.
you know, it's like that instinctive, competitive, like, I just want to win side of her and will do anything it takes.
But it seems like power, wanting to win, all of that is actually jeopardized with this kind of career because you know people are going to dig into your past.
Right.
I don't know how else you get it. And then there's also, which I think is how I've justified this when we've talked about it in the past, is like the way that Ty seems to have dealt with the wilderness when she comes home is she just puts her head down and acts like it didn't happen and goes right through, because there is that scene that we alluded to earlier in this episode, or in this episode that will come up in the next couple of episodes, where Ty and Shauna are talking about what they would have done.
Right.
And Ty's like, oh, I would have gone to blah, 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 and I would have become a lawyer. And Shauna's like,
you did all that.
You did all of that.
Yeah.
And maybe this was part of it too, right? That in her head, she was like, all along, she was like, and then that'll become my political career will start at this point. So she just did it. But it doesn't really fly with me, knowing how calculating and I just wonder what it like. I go back and forth all the time of how much of this is outside influence affecting what's happening to these women, and how much of it is beyond what they can understand, and blah, 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 all of that stuff. And this is another one that I still don't know where I land on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to just think that it's like, this is what she imagined she would be doing with her life, and she's not going to let some little 19-month stint as a cannibal in her past kind of derail her from it. And she does have a really competitive streak. Right. That she will not let somebody stop her from winning or doing what she wants.
Right. And as far as she knows, the only people who know what really happened out there are the other women. And we know that she's already doing the work to see if any of them are going to spill.
Yeah. I think to us it seems very short-sighted to think that if you nail down the few people in the group that you know about it, that no one else is going to, because that seems crazy to me. But
right.
But, that is kind of what she's doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we get the very last scene where she shows up at Nat's hotel. Mm-hmm. I think we're supposed to just assume that Nat called her to come over and look at the photos and see the symbol at the site of Travis's body. But they get the blackmail text.
And the timing that it gets there as soon as Ty shows up.
Interesting.
The only person who knows that they're all in that room together
is Misty.
Which we know because she's been watching.
Mm-hmm. I know, but we know.
We know who it is. Oh, yeah. But I just mean, if you're watching this show not knowing where this is going, of course, now they've set it up where you think maybe it's Misty.
Right.
Which Nat has been sort of speculating, because she went right to Misty's when she got the postcard. So the show is also playing with that possibility with us, for sure.
We do know that Jeff sent the texts at this point.
100% Jeff sent the text. And this wraps up, for me anyway. Well, it doesn't wrap it up. It actually makes it in the conversation about who sent the postcards. Mm-hmm. Whether you and I have gone back about whether or not Jeff read the journals, whatever. Jeff knows the symbol at the very least.
Yeah.
Obviously, because how long do you think it took him?
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good. He does a pretty good job.
Yeah. The text that they get says, gather 50K cash and await further instructions. Do not discuss with your teammates. I will know. Mm-hmm. And so that's, I think, reads to me like, I'm not one of your teammates, right? Do not discuss with your teammates, who I am not one of, which makes sense now that we know that it's Jeff.
Jeff, yeah.
It's just so funny to think about Jeff typing this. Like, it's so... Like,
it is kind of goofy. Like, the fact that he included the symbol is silly. I know it's so they know this person. I know what happened out there is the implication, right? But it is.
Yeah. It's a little movie villain, corny, like, blackmail text.
Totally.
Yeah. And then we get the reveal that Misty is watching through the nanny cam. If
Misty's not the one who sent the text, which we know she isn't, but it could be at this point, whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know the answer is because Misty's a lunatic and she wants to know what Nat is doing at all times. But, like, what is Misty doing?
She's just hanging out watching Nat TV.
God.
Yeah, just seeing what's happening when she's not there.
Yeah, because she's surprised that they're talking shit about her. Yeah. She calls her a poodle-haired freak.
Yeah, conniving poodle-haired freak.
Conniving poodle-haired freak.
Yeah. Also, we see Caligula hanging out with her. Yeah.
African Grey.
Yeah. But that is the end. And I think at this point...
Well, there's some disorienting, cacophonous music.
Oh, of course. Of course. Well, we have to start with the women vocalizing hauntingly. And end with the cacophonous music.
Always, of course.
Yes. But yeah, this was a really packed episode.
Yeah. Well, and it's halfway through season 1 that they put all of this in, but we get so much in this episode.
Yeah. It is a lot. But also now I'm kind of like, oh yeah, when people complained about the slower episodes, this is what they're thinking of for the alternative. You know?
Of course this is what you're gonna
compare it to.
I think these last few episodes, if I remember correctly, we're really ramping up.
Oh yes. We definitely are. Yeah, we've got so the next episode is
Saints.
Yeah, so next we have Saints. Yeah, we still have a lot of big episodes to come. We've got the wolf attack. We've got Doom coming. We've got, like, Navigate Love, Loss, and DIY Surgery, which is, I think, the attempted abortion episode. Like, we still have the chase of the blackmailer through apparently a glitter factory. Like, there's a lot of big stuff coming up still.
Yeah, it gets crazy.
Yeah.
The fucking reunion, the high school, them walking in, like, just... Yeah. I'm very excited. A lot of big stuff. Very excited. Saints, the Yellowjackets navigate love, lust, and DIY surgery.
Yeah, so this one, girls tangle with the birds and the bees, navigating love, lust, and DIY surgery. In the present, blackmail bunnies and an icy reunion. Misty prepares for a house guest.
Ooh.
But yeah.
It's almost time.
Yeah, little Jessica Roberts. So yeah, next week we've got a little bit of a rough one in moments.
I think moving forward, they're all a little bit of a rough one in moments. I think that's where fair. We are.
That's
I think
fair.
At this point, it's time. We just...
Yeah. Yep. It's getting grim out there in the woods. We should do the thing where we end the episode.
Listeners, as always, we love a review. Let folks know you've been listening. Word of mouth is absolutely still the best way to bring people to your favorite podcasts. Not just for us, any of your podcasts that you listen to and love. Tell folks about them. Let us know what you're thinking, how you feel about the show, anything... I was going to say predictions, but, anything coming up in future episodes that are coming up that you really want us to highlight, anything we missed in our rewatch recap, let us know. You can find us at WatchersPodNJ on Instagram, WatchersPodNJ at Gmail. We'd love to hear from you.
Definitely.
And Jodie, where can they find you?
They can find me at Jodie_Mim, JODIE_MIM on Instagram. That is kind of the only place I am these days. Twitter is dead to me. And I just lurk on TikTok. So yeah, find me on Instagram.
Yeah, I've also pretty much given up on Twitter. I'm at AQ on Instagram.
All right, that will do it for us this week, and we will see you in the woods.